They are playing the blame game in Washington. That is what is going on. The president says it is House Republicans' fault for not agreeing to a balanced package that would include some more additional tax increases above and beyond those he approved as part of the fiscal cliff deal. House Republicans are saying, well, the president made this, that they've already agreed to raise taxes. His claims are unreasonable. They will not raise taxes anymore, even if it's a tax loophole for the rich or big corporations, even if it's the Buffett rule, which means that wealthy billionaires and millionaires will have to pay the same effective tax rate as middle-class workers. But they also claim that the entire idea of the sequester was President Obama's fault back in the 2011 negotiations. Well, the fact is, the truth is somewhere in between. It is both President Obama's fault and House Republicans' fault. As I've said on Take Action News in the past, the president did make this part of his deal. He could have found other ways. He didn't need to negotiate over the debt ceiling back in the summer of 2011. He probably should have predicted that this kind of a stalemate would occur and the sequester would be another looming fiscal ultimatum that could jeopardize our economy. On the other hand, Republicans have played politics and made hostage-taking their entire approach to pressure the government for spending cuts. There is something specific that has been reported now, that is that in Bob Woodward's recent book on the grand bargain negotiations of 2011, that President's Chief of Staff Jacob Lew sat down with Senator Harry Reid and said, we have a plan that will force the Republicans' hand. It's called sequestration. Harry Reid, the Senate Majority Leader, put his head in his hands and said, well, if you insist, and Jack Lew had to convince him of it, obviously that shows that the White House really did see this as a legitimate policy tool on their own. In other developments in deficit reduction talks this week, the infamous budget hawk duo, Erskine Bowles and Alan Simpson, the Fiscal Commission co-chairs, released their own plan to reduce the budget deficit. Of course, they went above and beyond the president's calls for $1.5 trillion in new savings. They're now calling for $2.9 trillion in new savings, two-thirds of which, or at least two-thirds of which, would come from spending cuts. The one specific cut that they have in mind that would get at the heart of Social Security, a program that many Democrats and liberals would like to protect, is the Chain Consumer Price Index. That's right, the Chain Consumer Price Index. It's a cut that we've heard a lot about in recent months. It's a cut that a lot of Democrats in the House and the Senate find very objectionable. They find it objectionable because it is a deep cut to Social Security and veterans benefits that would take effect and cut benefits more with every passing year. Again, hitting folks hardest in old age, in late old age, in their 80s and 90s, or after decades of being on disability. It would also compound over time, resulting in cuts of nearly $1,000 a year after 20 years, and amounting to a cumulative cut of about $28,000 after 30 years. Again, an extremely controversial proposal. They put it forward. But of course, they're not alone. Erskine Bowles and Alan Simpson are represented and funded by some of the most powerful billionaires on the face of the planet, in whose interest it is to cut Social Security and Medicare so they can avoid paying their fair share in taxes. Joining us next will be Linda Graves. She's the executive director of Lisa Graves, I'm sorry. She's the executive director of the Center for Media and Democracy, and she wrote a breakthrough expose on Fix the Debt, the organization, the AstroTurf front that Erskine Bowles and Alan Simpson are standing behind, and the billionaires that fund them, and their history of bankrolling the movement to cut Social Security and Medicare. Stay tuned. We've got a great show coming up for you. Stay tuned for Lisa Graves coming up next on Take Action News. You're listening and watching Take Action News. Stay tuned.